Hello, my name is Elijah Dominguez. I'm making this video today. I'm reading today from Behold the Pale Horse, Chapter 6, HR 4790, and FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency, a tool that can be used to establish a police state. The following transcript is an audio with the urgent message to the people from William Cooper on the subject of HR 4079. We must stop these traitors now. William Cooper dictated this information to me by the phone in the 1990s, and I tape recorded the information, and I gave this tape to many and sent them out exactly as Mr. Cooper had asked me to do. And those recipients have been done the same. My name is Richard Murray, and I believe that William Cooper was the only man in America outside the secret government who knew truly what was happening, and it's up to us average citizens to also know. There's a guy named by Buster Horton. He is a member of FEMA. He is a member of the Interdepartmental Unit, which is an empowered and the event of national security and emergency to become the unelected government, a sort of FEMA secret government to be speak. The pretext for invoking those emergency measures can be found in almost daily a newspaper. It can be anything from suspension of debt payments to the high bureaus of America's country to a mass run on the commercial banks. That's an issue. Think about it. The one I just said, the drug war. There's so many drugs coming over the border now, we can't stop it. We need to call a national emergency and close all the borders down. Or there's mass food shortages and there's now had caused mass riots, and now we're calling in a national emergency. This is why they want people to riot. This is why they want people to get out of control. This is why they want all these mass shootings. These mass shootings aren't just happening because people are just all of a sudden snapping. No, something else is going on beyond what we can see, and we have to pay attention, because the last thing we want is our guns to be taken away. It could be anything, even the Exxon tanker in Alaska. If the president declares a national emergency, that could trigger it. An instability in the Middle East, in anything, in fact. Remember, though, the president can only call a national emergency for Washington, D.C. in the District of Columbia, its state, according to the Constitution. But remember, these men don't follow those laws. They don't follow the Constitution. They follow their own laws with whoever pays them the most money. Now, I've already tested the capabilities in '84 with Rex. '84. That's the readiness program in 1984, which has created FEMA. The the U.S. civil and military agencies respond to a serious national crisis. Now, the executive order will implement this executive order 1051, detailing responsibilities of emergency plans to FEMA. It gives authorization to put all executive orders in effect in the times of national emergency, declaring the president increasing international tension or economic financial crisis. Let me read that again. The president's increased international tension, meaning the war in the Ukraine, which has nothing to do with us, or the economic financial crisis, notes that covers every conceivable domestic crisis, but does not even mention a war or nuclear attack. Now, all things that happen from FEMA are able to implement all executive orders in the president's to declare a national emergency of any type as long as it's a national emergency. Executive Order 10995 provides the takeover for the communication of media. Executive 10997 provides the takeover of all electronic petroleum, gas, fuels, and minerals. Executive Order 10988, and the other one was 10997, 10995, 10998 says providing for the takeover of all food resources and farms. I will put that up in the marks so everybody can find it themselves and look for it. Executive Order 10999 provides the takeover for all modes of transportation, controls of highways, seaports. Executive Order 11,000 provides the mobilization of all civilians into work brigades under the government supervision, meaning we'll all be going into work camps, meaning they're taking over all the ports, all the food sources, all the electricity, all the communication will be under government control. Executive Order 1100 provides the government takeover for all health, education, and welfare functions. Executive Order 1102, the Postmaster General operates national registration of all persons, meaning we will all be registered and have to line up around the block and register our name with the postal. Executive Order 11003 provides the government will take over the airports and aircraft, meaning it's no longer we can no longer freely travel the airports. We're under government surveillance all the time and suspicion. If you are on the government watch list, good luck trying to get on the plane. Or if you are under government suspicion, good luck getting on the plane. Executive Order 1104 provides the House and financial authority to relocate communications, designating all abandoned and established locations for population. Executive Order 1105 provides the government's right to take over the rails and rail inland waterways and public facilities, meaning like California, waterways would be taken over, meaning they would no longer be free to travel. We would now be under government control. Now, all this combined with the executive order from Nixon, which allows the president, which allows all of this to take place. The president declares a national emergency and can be implemented by the head of the FEMA, not by the president. The president already has given him that power under these executive orders. All these were combined with Executive Order 11490 that's signed under President Carter, 11/2079. This is in fact law. So HR 470 is passed and the president does what it says and declares a national emergency because the drug situation, whether it is for 1 year, 5 years, 5 minutes, or forever, it doesn't make any difference. FEMA then can implement all these executive orders and take over all local, state, national government suspension and suspend the Constitution and do whatever it wants to do. This is very important to realize when we have all these mass shootings. We have these people who are being imprisoned. We have people who, for crimes that they didn't do, like I was in prison for my free speech. We would no longer have any constitutional rights. All these would be gone. We would just be locked away forever. We would never get out of jail. No matter what we did, what we said, we would be stuck in there. Now, remember what North did during the Iran-Contra hearings. He said that they were preparing the suspension of the Constitution. He said that they hadn't, if hadn't been for their getting caught, this would have happened, and it would have all it did was delay it. Now it's occurring again. Now that they have nominated or appointed Major General Calvin Frank, who's the head of FEMA. He was nominated because discussions proposed the removal of implementation of the National Guard to Washington, D.C. Major General Franklin is or was commanding general of the District of Columbia National Guard. Now, you've got to know that the National Guard would have been no help at commanding the drug trafficking in Washington, D.C. or anywhere else. The primary effectiveness of the National Guard is controlling massive civil disorder. On March 24th, President Bush issued an executive order delegating the director of FEMA powers which were vested in the president by the Disaster Relief Emergency Act of 1988. And I'll put all this information up top. And although the order was described by the White House, technical matters in reality in the revisions of the delegates of the FEMA director directly responsible for the large number of items in which they were only earlier of the president's prerogatives, and that includes the responsibilities for the general federal assistance, federal emergency assistance, hazard mitigation, individual and family grants program, and the power to direct other federal agencies to assist in the emergency. And that's the key. All other federal agencies will come under FEMA. Of course, the president retains the power to actually declare an emergency, but as soon as he does that, the implement of the measure utilized will be transferred directly to the directors of FEMA, the brains behind the contingency plan for the police state, were members of the Council of Foreign Relations Trilateral Commissions, both were which Bush was members, all the Bush families were members, and Brent Scowcroft, national advisor, who was the member of FEMA Advisory Board until he was appointed by Bush to the head of National Security Council, and is a member of the Trilateral Commission and also a business partner of Henry Kissinger, who has been a traitor of this country for many, many years. And of course, Scowcroft would become the superior of FEMA in the chain of command for the national security emergency whenever it is declared. The FEMA Advisory Board is dominated by Professor Samuel P. Huntington in 1778 drafted for Jimmy Carter a memorandum 32. Again, I'll put all this in the box there so you can read it. Which led to the creation of FEMA. And the Harvester Professor, he wrote the seminal piece for the Trilateral Commission of the mid-70s recommending democracy and the economic development be discarded and outdated ideas. He wrote the co-author and book Crisis in Democracy. We've come to recognize that the potential desirable limited of economic growth. There are potential desire to limit the indefinite extensions of political democracy, and the government, which lacks the authority to the ability and the cataclysm crisis to impose on its people the sacrifices which may be necessary. All of Huntington's ideas were written in the National Security Decision Directive 47, the NSDD-7, and that was enacted by President Reagan on July 22nd, 1882. They identified important areas of upgrading such as nation's industrial bases, maintaining a national defense, but it was nonetheless, this is very important, laying the groundwork for the security government's options to institute a police state and its emergency mobilization repair. It is ordered preparedness measures, regulations to delay emergency response, and that it should never receive priority attention. And it is specific to the preparedness measure or that are or may be implemented. The legal constraints identified the priority task that lays the groundwork for the suspension of the Constitution. Ooh, and all that is gonna happen, and that all that is happening. And there's some stuff that I haven't even dug up yet that I'm still finding. Many copies of this tape, there's many copies of this now since I have read this, and I hope that people are willing to send this information to other people and make hard copies of these paperwork, Because remember, they'll just delete it if they don't want it on the internet no more. So make sure to always make hard copies of these documents. So that way, at least when you find a link and it says it's no longer there, somebody will be able to get you an original copy. Stay tuned because I will be reading HR 4079 next. And I will be posting this up and making sure that people understand that we are in a police state and that there's a national emergency that's going to take place. In fact, because it's so short, I think I'll just read it now. It says HR 49, which was not passed. It's a deceptively dangerous piece of legislation that's in Congress. It must be stopped at all costs. You must call your representatives and stop this bill. H.R. 4079 has within its page two provisions which are meant to divert the facts from all the bears and declare a national emergency. For 5 years, the FEMA would literally take over local, state, and federal governments. This means the Constitution of the United States would be suspended, and the diversion used are terrible and sneaks through. If this one would eliminate the Fourth Amendment and the Constitution, and all others would eliminate the Eighth Amendment of the Constitution, and diversion would cause heated arguments over the provision of resulting in some sorts of compromise while allowing declaration of 5 year state national emergency to sail right through Congress and become signed into law. If this happens, say goodbye to the U.S., say hello to the New World Order. Call your congressman and insist that they deliver into your hands a complete copy of HR 4079 immediately. Do not take no for an answer. Read it and defeat it. And then I will post all the sources for this that I have read, and so people can see that these are real and that this is not just made up. Thank you for watching. I will be reading another chapter of this book and posting information for people to see. Remember, make a hard copy because the government likes to remove documents from the internet so you no longer have them. Thank you for watching. Share, like, subscribe, and comment. Hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. I know you're watching, but you're not hitting that subscribe button. So hit that subscribe button so you can stay tuned for more good stuff. Thank you for watching. My name is Elijah Dominguez, and this has been the People of the State of California.